You're listening to HowStreet.com radio, available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Welcome to HowStreet.com radio, the online source for market opinions. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Bo Polny, founder of Gold2020Forecast.com. Welcome to the show, Bo.
Thank you, Jim. Nice to be here again.
I know cycles are what you're all about, but can cycles within cycles unexpectedly change?
Great question, and the answer is yes. Long-term cycles do not change, so they do not, but cycles within cycles absolutely can change. I'd like to give you maybe some examples of that, and so kind of give the readers or listeners a little bit of understanding as to what's happening currently with gold and what's happening with silver. So we've spoken since a few times already, and I think in March we were talking about the cycle being a low, and then we were also talking about we did 2 interviews last year in November talking about gold being a low at 1130. So let me explain a long-term cycle, because long-term cycles are the key to understanding gold's direction, gold's movement in the long-term picture of events. So let's start with if we look at November 9th, 2007, that's where silver put in a cycle high. We're using Daniel's timeline as again how we do our calculations. We run timeline of 1,260 days. We run that forward. That would take us to exactly the 22nd of April 2011, and then from a cycle standpoint, you add 7 trading days or 7 calendar days. That put it the exact cycle high on April 29th, 2011, and $49 silver. Gold running a similar pattern. We run March of 2008, take that all the way forward. That would take us to the 29th of August, 2011. Again, 7 trading days. That would put us to an exact cycle high. That's supposed to arrive on September 6th, 2011. The exact cycle top came in at $1,923. So then using similar cycle theory, taking that forward, that put gold into a low in November of actually would have been October 29th, would have been 3.5 exact years, October 29th, 2014, adding 7 trading days, calendar days. That takes us to exactly the 6th of November of 2014, and that's exactly where 1130 gold showed up. So from a long-term perspective, the cycles are perfect and are unbroken. Ever since that low, we've had multiple false starts, and we've been hoping that since that low, gold would shoot up, and it kept coming back, and it kept retesting, go up, kept retesting down. Again, the 1130 low is supposed to hold based on cycles, because that's an exact cycle mark, 3.5 years off the high, so that one will not and should not break. Everything since then has been a cycle within a cycle. So to answer your question, what we've had is a cycle within a cycle that's simply playing out to complete a long-term cycle, so we still have a cycle rise going into 2016, 2017, 2018. So the cycle itself is not complete to the upside. All we've had is a mini cycle, and so that would be, let me explain the mini cycle. That will be taking, let's start with the Swiss referendum was on the 30th of November, 2014 into December 1st of 2014. Going 7 months forward would put it to exactly July 1st, add 7 trading days, and boom, we will get to exactly the 7th of July, 2015, which was just last week. On that exact day, silver dropped down to the mid-14s and then reversed back up to have an intraday reversal. So from a long-term perspective, cycles are completely unbroken and perfect. We have a mini cycle of 7 months and 7 days within the start of the entire first cycle that's starting and that has begun and started on the 7th or 6th of November of 2014. So I hope that gives you a long way of describing it. What we've got is an unbroken cycle and a cycle within a mini cycle of 7 months, 7 days within a grand long-term cycle that's now going to be continuing forward.
What's the difference between major cycles and minor cycles?
Yeah, so that will be the major cycle So to answer that question, the major cycle would be the yearly cycle. So that's a 7-year cycle, 7.5, a 3.5-year cycle. Those are major cycles. The minor cycles are month cycles or day cycles. So we just had the completion as of the 7th of a minor 7-month cycle within a major 3.5 or 7-year cycle.
We'll have more with Bo Polny right after this.
More and more people are looking to the internet for intelligent, riveting, and thought-provoking interviews. To advertise on the Goddard Report and TalkDigitalNetwork.com, call 604-699-8600, 604-699-8600.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Bo Polny, founder of Gold2020Forecast.com. Well, the day of the interview, July 15th, is this a special day in your cycle work?
I would say absolutely it is. For the past month, I've been writing about a concept called a paradigm shift. And today is, again, the 15th of July. Gold actually closed down $6 at 11.49, and silver closed down 28 cents at $15.10. And to my subscribers and just in generally, I've been speaking specifically about a paradigm change, a shift that's supposed to be occurring. And what I see happening is that it's like you can take from a cycles perspective. If you if you're on the beach and you drew a line in the sand, everything on the left side of that line is what we've experienced for months, for years, and specifically for all of the 25th year of 2015. On the other side of the line, which would be starting tomorrow, the 16th, going forward, and by the end of the month and by the end of the year, everything that we experience to be true should start to be a 180 degrees opposite reversal of what we've seen and experienced the first part of the year. So what that basically implies is the stock market's been rising. Well, starting very shortly here into this point of time, we should start seeing markets reverse and start to fall. Secondly, gold's been falling, but it's been holding ever since the low that we've had at 1130 last November. Now that the 7-day cycle completed last week, I believe we have nothing but a little bit of sideways price action, and following this, we're going to see the opposite side of the trade. So gold and silver are going to have amazing and fantastic moves going forward and at the end of the year.
Did the crash in the Shanghai Stock Exchange show up in your cycles work?
We did an interview, if you remember that going back in time, I think it was in April, end of April, and we were talking about how the Shanghai market had mirrored an exact cycle that we were looking at historically. And so the 29th of April, just exactly as as we mentioned earlier, in the 29th of April 2011, when silver topped at $49, the exact pattern played out for the Shanghai stock market, and on that exact day, we were forecasting that the market should have topped on Shanghai, and it did on the exact date. We also forecast two other things, that the Shanghai markets were supposed to drop for 5 days consecutive after that date. Well, that exactly happened too. And then we also forecast the minimum price projection on the drop would have been 15% from the top. And it looks like, what do we have? The top came in on the 29th of April at 28,400. We're expecting a 15% drop, which would have taken it down to a minimum of 24,000. The drop actually occurred exactly that, even beyond it. The low came in at 22,800, which is actually 1,200 points below our 15% projection. But yes, the cycle itself predicted that the top was in, and it exactly came in as forecast in terms of all three projections were hit. So all of this is playing in to tie into gold, to tie into silver. I believe that, the movement in the Hong Kong markets and all the things that are happening in the world right now, and again, so we talk about the paradigm. Everything that we experience to be true, things are about to change. And so the cycles are specifically telling us that by the end of even this month, by the end of July, we should see something amazing begin to happen to gold and to silver's price. So it's kind of like a spring that's been coiled and coiled and coiled, and eventually it just starts to explode vertically. So now that we've passed today, we are specifically at the middle of July. I think I know that by the end of this month, it's going to be pretty amazing what will and start to occur to precious metals. And so I don't think the metals will make it out of this month without showing some amazing strength. We've got on our webpage, I even put up an article dated July 10th, and I basically called it what's called the Deep V Formation. But in essence, gold has carved out and has been, with silver specifically, making a final low. And with I believe, between Hong Kong, the Shanghai Stock Exchange, between events occurring in the world, I think all of this is playing into what's about to happen to the precious metals.
Is the turmoil in Greece playing into the cycles?
Yeah, and that's another trigger. Obviously, Greece is going to somehow tie into this probably as well too, in conjunction to Hong Kong, and again with the U.S. markets expected to now start to fall. So what's going to cause that? So things that have been are about to start changing, and so I believe Greece is going to be a part of this as well too. So by the end of August, or even into August, we'll be able to look back at the end of the events that played out into the end of July and see what did transpire. But for gold cycle work, we still have, we've been talking about an explosive price movement, and we're not backing down from that. We're still looking at aggressive price movement that is supposed to begin extremely soon, and it should be very self-evident by the end of this month of July and into August. So we do have a cycle coming in for a high here in August. So it's going to be exciting times from where we are today into August. And that's not to say we can't have a couple more days of bouncing around at these lower prices, but I think the time is extremely short right now for the precious metals and these prices.
Bo, thanks a lot for chatting with us.
Thank you, Jim. I appreciate you calling.
My guest has been Bo Polny, founder of Gold2020forecast.com. You're listening to HowStreet.com Radio. Find us on Twitter at Talk Digital Net. Our YouTube channel is Talk Digital Network. Comments about the show can be sent to info@HowStreet.com. I'm Jim Goddard.
Comments made on HowStreet.com Radio are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. HowStreet.com Radio is a production of HowStreet Media Incorporated.